Hi everyone. So I wanted to give you a sermon. Usually people, if I ask them, do they want to hear a sermon? They're like, no, not a rabbi sermon. So here is a sermon with a difference because it's inside my home. It's not the bima. But I think if I can get to you every week a sermon about the parsha, I think that'll be really helpful, hopefully, and you'll have some nugget about the parsha, something interesting. So this week is Vayakhel and Pekudei. It's a double parsha. It's the last two portions in the book of Exodus, in the book of Shemot, with which we then move on to the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. But it's also the fourth of the four special Shabbatot. This week is called Shabbat HaChodesh, because every year it's the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the new moon of Nisan. This month, of course, Nisan, is the month of redemption. So let's think about the moon. The moon in the Talmud is often referred to as symbolic of the Jewish people, which is interesting. There's a lot to learn from the moon. One of the things I think which is interesting is humility. We often want to show what we've done. We also often want to show what we've achieved. And there's often pressure in life to achieve and create and do. What about being? Just being who you are, getting on with what we do in our own families, in our own units. Often with Facebook and other social media, we're often wanting to trumpet what we've done. But here we are with the moon that doesn't have its own light. It reflects the light of the sun. And there's something there about reflecting, and we can do that at the moment on humility, which often is lacking in our world. But also what's interesting about the moon is that the moon waxes and wanes. It really evokes the idea of cycle. That the world is about cycles. Shabbat comes and then it goes. The week comes and then it goes. Winter comes, then we have spring and summer before we go back to autumn and winter. There are cycles of light and cycles of dark. Our history has been built on cycles. Cycles where there have been more scholars and more scholarship and sometimes less. Cycles where there have been parts of the cycle of persecution and parts where we have been, for times, in security. So we're a people of the moon. We're a people of cycles. And so we now, with most of humanity in a way, enter, in a sense, a cycle. This isn't the end. This is a change. And a change that from which we will, intact, hopefully as much as possible, return back to what was before. And that thinking of it as just a change that will return the element and part of a cycle might be helpful in us thinking just that bit more positively at what is a really challenging time. And look, we have technology, even in this more darker time, when we are distancing socially, when we are thinking about those nearest to us, we're thinking about how to help those who may be in need. When we worry about how our health service will cope, technology is able to bring us together, I think, which is so, so important. And we may well in some ways come out stronger. There will be people who we need to support, and I feel we should be having our voice heard at highest levels, that people who lose their jobs and lose part of their livelihood should be support. So this Shabbat really symbolizes the beginning of redemption, the beginning of a move forwards of a people who weren't individuals separately, who were socially together. They move forward together. But at the same time, Pesach and the redemption is based on the family. In the Maftir this week for Shabbat HaChodesh, we're told that each family, each house, had to have a lamb. And so we will all be in our families, and we will all hopefully connect to our families over Pesach, because family units and looking after people will be so much important in the coming weeks. So the moon, humility, the cycle, some things to reflect on this Shabbat. And hopefully I'll see you next week with a sermon for Parshat Vayikra. Or with feedback, mazwilhillrabbi@gmail.com. Stay well, stay safe, socially distance, be responsible, because being responsible now is going to save people's lives. Shabbat Shalom.